Okay, so we're getting towards the end of the Critical Essays series of videos. We've looked at the essay questions, the introduction, we've looked at the main paragraphs and broken them down, and now it's time to have a quick look at the conclusion paragraphs for your critical essays. So obviously, any essay would have an introduction, any essay would therefore also have a conclusion at the end. And what's it for? It's for it's for wrapping everything up, basically. So 3 parts, much like the introduction, and this is going to work in the same kind of way. Got a template for you that you can use at least at the start, and then we can build up from there throughout the course of the year. First sentence, just do the basics, text, the author, the essay question, make them nice and clear. Second sentence is where you cover sort of a wee summary of what you've argued. So in the introduction, that we gave a wee summary of what the text contained in terms of like themes or ideas or whatever. Now we're going to give a little summary of what we've said throughout the course of the essay, just nice and short. And then at the end, there's an opportunity for you to offer a bit of quite explicit personal engagement. So there should be obvious personal engagement through the course of the essay where you're writing your comments, for example. But it's helpful at the end, if you have time, to maybe make that just a little bit clearer if it's possible and if it's relevant to the essay question that you've been asked. So template, same as the last ones. Again, I'm not going to read through this. You can just pause it and you can take it all down, but it's going to work in the same kind of way as the introduction one. Stuff in the square brackets gets changed. It's color coded for the points I just made over the last slide there just before in the wee video, and I'm about to show you what an actual conclusion might look like in this sort of context. So here we are. Red parts for the red bit, green for green and blue for blue. So War Photographer, Carol Ann Duffy poem, intense sympathy for the character. So that's your text and your author and your reference to the essay question. The green bit there, the text explores this harrowing personal experience, highlighting mental and emotional price he pays. That's what the response in the essay would have been saying. It would have been arguing that we feel sympathy for this character because of the way in which the text explores the personal experiences and shows us what impact they had on the photographer in there, in War Photographer. And then the wee bit at the end is, a bit from me where I've written down what would maybe be like an acceptable sort of personal response to that part. And this is just, what I take from that particular question and from that text. It's a powerful text because of the way in which it helps us to explore the plight of the photographer, but then kind of turns the focus onto us. Which means that we end up kind of not just understanding what the photographer goes through on our behalf, but we also kind of go away from the poem forced to think about our own responses to that kind of work and to ask ourselves whether we take it seriously enough or whether we do enough, or whether we are the kind of people who just sort of notice it briefly and then ignore it. And that's quite a powerful thing for a poem to be able to achieve. So if you can get an explanation of that kind of thing in the end of your essay, obviously, you show that you've thought about the essay question, that you've read the text, that you've really engaged with it, and that you've been able to give a sophisticated, grown-up response to a piece of literature, which is, after all, the goal. So advice at the end here, use that template I've given you. Same as the introduction, we'll use it at the start. Some people use it all the way through, some people use it for the first couple of months and then kind of grow beyond it. Absolutely fine. Practice is the key thing. So you do a lot of practice, these things will become easier. What you need is, much like the introduction, you need the sort of template to become automatic for you. You need to not be constantly having to think, oh, what was the next bit? As soon as it's become automatic, you just focus on doing the job you're needing to do, which is, getting into the analysis or explaining the answer to the question. So that's why these sort of template structures are really helpful to get us going at least, and then we will work beyond them eventually. As I've said in other points as well, do the hard stuff. Make sure that you pick challenging essay questions, and if you know that you're struggling a bit with conclusions, then make a point of doing them. Practice the main paragraph. If you don't have time to do a whole essay, practice the main paragraphs, just kind of sketching them out as notes, but write a full conclusion if that's the bit you're struggling with. And the last thing, absolute worst case scenario in the exam, 45 minutes to do it and you run out of time. Some people ditch the end of like a main paragraph, just stop analysing and jump into a conclusion because they think they need to have that. Under those circumstances, ditch the conclusion and finish your main paragraph. It's more important. Okay, so usual thing, questions, comments, any issues, get in touch and let me know. And there's a few more videos left just looking at a few more specific details to do with critical essays.